The International Adoption Training Program DVD series is about more than just meeting the minimum Hague educational requirements. It's about giving families the information they need to make the most informed decision possible for adopting a child, so that when the child arrives, he's welcomed into a family that is best prepared to nurture his emotional development and help him succeed in the world.
The day I was adopted, I was 5 years old. It had been a typical day. However, around nap time that day, my caretaker pulled me aside and told me to wait on a couch. As I waited for some time, the caretaker came back up and told me to follow her downstairs to the office. I was confused at the moment, as I typically assumed entering the office meant that I was in trouble. As I rounded the corner into the office, I noticed that the room was quite crowded with many individuals. The headmistress asked me to pick out my family. At the time, I was quite confused as to what this new word family even meant. Prior to my adoption, I do not remember anyone explaining to me that I would be leaving the orphanage to go away with a family. However, I did as the headmistress asked, and I pointed to the corner of the room and
Well, it depends on the country. Every country gives you a different amount of information, and of course, you sort of get a sense of what each country is going to give you. And then when you don't get that information, it sort of perks up your curiosity even more. Why aren't we getting this time? But so different countries give different information. I generally always get some measurements. So either there'll be birth measurements and current measurements, or sometimes depending on the country, like for example Korea, you'll get measurements monthly. Maybe they're every 3 months. So that was the way Russia was. And you'll also get, and again, this is different depending on the country, if there is a birth mother that we know about, the birth mother, we'll get some data on her. We almost always get blood work, and the blood work usually includes hepatitis B, hepatitis C, HIV, and syphilis.
And eventually those families will probably move forward with adopting what I call the top 10. There are 10 specific special needs that we see more than any other, and it's because of their frequency in any population that they occur. It's surprising probably to families watching this video what a special need can be. As I mentioned earlier, heart. A child with a heart condition that has already received surgery is a special needs child. A child over the age of 3 years is a special needs child. A boy, especially over the age of 3 years, is a special needs child. Ear.
When we as white adoptive parents bring a child of African ancestry into our home, we are making a lifelong commitment to parent that child. And our children have ethnic hair. It is quite different from Caucasian hair, and not just in visual appearance. African hair is dry and fragile. It needs to be washed less and conditioned more.
In most Caucasian cultures, having attractive hair is considered a bonus. But most of us don't have to work very hard to look socially acceptable. Clean hair, a reasonable haircut or not, good enough. This is not true of ethnic hair. Even just leaving ethnic hair loose in an afro requires more effort than Caucasian or Asian hair. As a white parent with a black child, the African American community will tend to feel free to comment on your child's hair.
But the first thing a child needs, before they are able to advance to greater levels of emotional connections, is to feel safe. You may remember back to Introduction to Psychology class that Maslow identified a hierarchy of needs that basically says the physical needs of safety, food, and shelter must be met before a person can advance to greater emotional levels. In the same way, the child must realize that they are safe, deep in their spirit, before they are able to emotionally connect with their new mom and dad. You see, mom and dad knowing that the child is safe is very different than the child realizing they are safe. A few easy ways to help your child begin to feel safe right from the beginning is by showing